The film starts and we see a woman who was traveling from China to Hong Kong. She was also holding a lunchbox in her hand. As soon as she reaches home, she opens all the boxes and throws away the food except for the last box. There was a small dish like momos which this woman cleans and eats. The name of this dish is Dumplings, which is also the title of this film. We see this woman whose name is May. People call her Auntie May because she is very old, but the surprising thing is that she looks like 30s. That is, she looks young. How is this possible? And what is the reason behind her looking younger? We will know later, but the reason is very terrible. May not only makes dumplings for herself, but she was very famous for making them because she used to make them and sell them to everyone, which are fresh and tasty to eat. And these dumplings were the secret of her beauty and young looks. She uses a special ingredients in the dumplings, which makes it possible. The next day, a woman M.R.L. comes to meet May. She used to be a movie star, but now she has come far away from her career because she married a very rich businessman, and she is living her life just as his wife, because there is neither love between them, nor any relationship like husband-wife. She married him just for money, so that she can get good status. But now she sees this status getting out of her hands as Mrs. Lee's age is increasing. Her husband Lee's attention is moving away from her. He forms relationships with young, beautiful girls and spends more time with them. Mrs. Lee is very dejected because of this. She thinks that I am losing everything, but if I lose my youth and beauty, then I will be left with nothing. So today she came to Aunt May because she learned from somewhere that there is magic in the dumplings that May makes. Such powers are found in those dumplings that whoever eats them starts looking young again. Such changes take place in the body that the age of a person starts appearing less. They could stop or reduce the age of a person, and they can make a person so beautiful that anyone would be attracted towards him. But she is not going to believe what anyone hears from such a person. That is why she says that please give me any proof of this. May says, well, how old do you think I will be? In response, Mrs. Lee says this is someone around 30 years old. On this, May says, well, my age is more than 30 years. You're not able to guess my age. So what else evidence do you want? I add such a special thing in my dumplings, which has such a magic that no other thing can give you such beauty and youth. I myself have become so young and beautiful just by eating dumplings. No cream, no lotion will give you such good results, even if you get treatment for it. Even surgery cannot give you such tremendous results. Because aging is a process in the human body a person goes through from every age and also has to grow old one day. So, to reduce aging and look younger, this process cannot be done from outside, but it can be done from inside, which I do through dumplings, for which Mrs. Lee also agrees, and now May present her dish in front of her. At first, Mrs. Lee was reluctant to eat it, but when she thinks about its consequences, she finally eats it. She thinks that this is the last option for me. Who knows? It may be a miracle for me. And then like this, she comes to May's house and start eating these dumplings. Now, somewhere she also got a clue that the ingredients May puts in it are the meat of small animals. But she doesn't pay much attention to this thing. She didn't want to know anything else. She was only concerned with the result, and that too very soon. And as May was claiming that, these dumplings seemed to be the solution to her problem. She then noticed that, these days my husband is going on more trips. Mrs. Lee also knew very well who he would be with on the trips. But despite knowing everything, she was going through this trouble and was living a life of sadness. But she could not do anything more. If she asks more questions to her husband about this, he will hand her a check for a huge amount, but he can do only this much for his wife. He could not give her anything more than this, neither love nor attention and time. Because of this, M.R.L. I was becoming a victim of hopelessness. Mrs. Lee did not like dishes like dumplings before, but due to helplessness, she had to eat them today. Not only this, but now she also keeps giving May tips to prepare good dumplings. That make them like this. Add this thing in it because it will make the dumplings tasty. Now a few days passed like this, and May was noticing a change in Mrs. Lee. Her skin was starting to look young, but Mrs. Lee wanted faster results. That is why she asked May to please do something like this, that I get better results overnight. To which May says yes, I promise it will happen. Now when Mrs. Lee leaves, a woman comes to May's house who brought her young daughter with her, whose name is Kate. From their words, we come to know that once upon a time, there used to be a very good lady doctor. She used to handle at least 10 cases a day. Although she had given up this work, but still that woman brought her daughter Kate to May. Because this girl Kate is just 15 years old, but she is about to become a mother. And there is no one else who can do wrong to her but her own father. And now that she is pregnant, her mother is running from door to door with her because she wants either to give birth to her or to end her. Now May checks Kate. She comes to know that Kate's child is 6 months older. That is why it was very difficult for May to see this case, so she refuses. She says that I can't do anything about it. She advises that you should contact the black market, that you will find a hospital from where your daughter's child will either be delivered or aborted. Because in that hospital, such works are also done. And I am still in contact with the same hospital. But May was not a doctor there. Rather, she used to steal the meat of small children from there. That is, the special ingredients in her dumplings are children's meat, not any animals. That is, this was her secret. On the other hand, Mrs. Lee knew about that. My husband was having an affair with a hotel staff. She used to come to his room every night and used to stay there. Mrs. Lee could not tolerate this thing. So she calls May to her house and she tries to explain to her that, look, I have no existence apart from my house and my husband. I want to increase my family. I am fond of children, but I don't know why this is not possible. Now seeing her disappointment, May decides that no matter what happens, I will help her at all costs. On the other hand, Kate's health was also deteriorating. It was beginning to appear that she was pregnant. Her mother was very worried about Kate, so May decides to help her too. The very next day, she calls Kate and her mom to her house and gives birth to Kate's child. That too without any intoxicating medicine. Kate suffered a lot and her child came out. Seeing this, a strange smile appeared on May's face because looking at this child, and thought that this was what she needed, through which she could bring back Mrs. Lee's youth, because the child was very healthy. First of all, the thing she used to mix in her dumplings was the baby meat, which she stole from that hospital, but all those children were of short life. But this child was born to 5 mothers, so he has more nutrition and more strength in them, due to which Mrs. Lit will become young overnight as she dreams. This will work like a magic. She thinks that if I had given Kate medicine to intoxicate, then all the qualities would have been lost in it. That is why May now stores this baby's meat in my fridge. Then the next day, when Mrs. Lee came to her house, she took out this child's meat for mixing the dumplings. For a long time, Mrs. Lee was wondering what May was adding to her dumpling. Today, she did not have the patience to find out, and she slowly reached the kitchen, where May was preparing to grind the meat finely. Seeing this, Mrs. Lee got so scared that she immediately ran away from here. Now, after seeing this, and even thinking this, she begins to vomit, that I have been eating this for so long. But then she started thinking about her husband and herself, that my beauty and looks are most important to me. As I'm growing older, all these things are going. If I continue like this, then one day, my husband will definitely go away from me. So in this situation, if this is the solution to the problem for me, then this is the right one. That is why she thought that if eating the dumplings of baby meat will keep me young and beautiful, I will not stop eating it. She controls herself and once again goes to May's house, where May adds the same meat and makes dumplings and gives it to her to eat. Now thinking of such good results, not only Mrs. Lee eats those dumplings, she eats and also enjoys every bite. May was also watching her and promised that these dumplings will definitely make you what you want and give you a new happy life. Very soon you will start seeing the difference in yourself. Now Mrs. Lee was feeling very good after her words and eating these new types of dumplings. And then after a few days, real changes started taking place in Mrs. Lee. May's words were becoming true because now Mrs. Lee was looking so attractive and young that her husband Lee kept looking at her, did not take his eyes off her, and also praised her that she was looking very lovely. This made Mrs. Lee very happy. And after so much time, both of them spend a good time together now. Mrs. Lee thinks that her life has once again become happy because her husband now gives his full attention to her, leaving his work and giving her time, which was a big thing for her. But it is also true that every miracle, there are also side effects with it, bad effects and wrong results. Mrs. Lee holds a party in her house where all the friends and relatives had come. They also praise Mrs. Lee's beauty. But when she comes and sits in the middle of everyone, the bad smell of fish starts coming from Mrs. Lee's body itself. Because of this, Mrs. Lee has to face a lot of embarrassment, and she leaves the party and locks herself in the bathroom and takes a good bath. She thinks, how could May do this to me? She should have told me about these side effects earlier. So she calls May and tells her everything. In response, May says that she herself never knew about these side effects. Nothing like that happened to me. It is possible that this is the first time that such a thing has happened in your body. That is why it has happened. It will be fine by the day after tomorrow. So don't be worried a lot. Then Mrs. Lee also gets relaxed due to her words. secrets. But she was unaware of the fact that her husband standing outside has heard everything that both of them were talking about. He had already suspected that my wife was taking some special thing, or any herb or medicine or something intoxicating. Now, after listening to May, he himself gets her information and goes to meet her the very next day. Then I feed him dumplings too. Lee had come to know that May is a cannibal man-eater, and it is because of cannibalism that she is so young and beautiful. She is also doing all this with others by feeding them dumplings. Although she is 65 years old, but she seems 30 years old. But Lee, who was such a person earlier, it did not matter to him that May was a man-eater. He only matters that she is young and beautiful. He started liking May at first sight, so he starts a relationship with her. Now, May wanted this first because she knew how to use him and loot him. And now, after trapping him, she forms a relationship with him because she did not want to miss this opportunity, after which both of them spend time together, and both of them start ignoring Mrs. Lee completely. What else did May want? Such a rich man had fallen in love with her, and Lee also meant beauty, and Mrs. Lee could not give up chasing May so easily. That is why she wanted to live in contact with May, because now her body has got used to those dumplings. Now if she gives up eating this, then her youth and beauty will all be gone, because she was already facing this problem. Marks were forming on her body. Red spots were appearing, and she was not even able to sleep. She goes out and demands dumplings. But May was not ready to listen to her. On the other hand, the child of Kate, May had given birth to, was in so much pain that she died because May had not performed the operation properly. Kate endured so much pain that she lost the courage, and she was a child. That's why she died. After the death of her daughter, her mother got mad. She kills her husband, who was responsible for her daughter's death and who had done wrong, was killed by her. The neighbors informed the police about this. Then the police came and Kate's mother was arrested. And when she was questioned, she also took May's name. But by the time the police came to arrest her, May packed my things and ran away. Now May was saved, but Mrs. Lee was completely trapped. She understood that without those dumplings, she would not be able to survive. If I remain alive, all my youth and beauty would be gone. Now, May was no more. She would have to make arrangements for those dumplings herself, for which she would find a way. She finds the same hotel staff with whom Lee had an affair, and finds out that the girl is about to become a mother, and she is also 5 months pregnant. Because Lee wanted to have this child, he made a deal with the girl that, if she gives birth to a child, he will give her a huge amount. So now Mrs. Lee goes and asks for her child from the hotel staff, saying that she wants the child of only 5 mothers. She says, the money my husband Lee has promised to give you, I will give you the money double the amount. She wanted to do 2 things with this. If I get this child, when this girl will not give the child to Lee, then he will leave her. And this thorn in my path will also end. And anyway, she was very hopeful that this girl will be killed during that time. And if I get that child, then with his help, I can maintain my youthful beauty, for which the girl agreed. And Mrs. Lee takes it to the lady doctor and gets this child born. Exactly the way May got it done without any intoxicating medicine, because she also wanted this child to be completely healthy. And as per his thinking also, the girl gets killed during this process. And now, as soon as she takes the child, she brings him home and then keeps him and takes him to the chopper for grinding, after which she would eat him, which meant that in the end, just like May, Mrs. Lee became a murderer in the name of being beautiful. Now she does not need anyone or any other process, because in exchange of money, she will always get the child, whom after eating, she always remained beautiful and young, which was her wish to always remain beautiful young, and to get the love of her husband, which now became possible. And from now on, her husband will not look at anyone, but he will have love only for his wife. But the reason behind this was very terrible. And with this story also ends here. That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this movie and what other movies or documentaries you want me to review next. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.